going in many different directions musically over the years, and it's always in response to the text. If I want to do O Magnum that's very direct versus something that's very abstract, where the Renaissance characteristics and the madrigali and the forcefulness of that versus a quiet setting of prayer, yeah. Or in different languages. It's always very, very interesting to me to go in many different directions, always in response to the text. These pieces on the second half are all quite short. I think "Be Still" is probably the longest, and the other one takes 8 minutes or something like that. The actor's song, when I was growing up, and it's true today, one of the genres that I felt especially close to was the genre of the American Broadway stage. Those writers, Jerome Kern, Richard Rodgers, Oscar Hammerstein, etc., Cole Porter, look at what they've left us. Oklahoma and South Pacific and the ones that are happening now. This is quintessentially American music. And I loved it. And one thing that these people had in common was the long lyric line. And I try to do that in my music too. The actor's song was written back in 1974. It's an allegory. It was about an end of a personal relationship in my life, but I wrote a little poem about a play coming to an end. And I simply cast it in the guise of a cabaret song. There's a gorgeous recording of this thing with Shelley Baird, the great jazz musician, pianist, and Sonny Wilkinson, the great jazz out there. It's the first time I've ever heard it with a countertenor. We're going to have that experience tonight as well. "Be Still My Soul" was written in the early 70s in response to the horrors of war. And it is one of the most difficult pieces I have ever written. It's very challenging. It calls for 4 virtuosos. And when Seth told me he was going to program that, I said, "Are you sure?" And he said, "Oh yeah, we have the people here to do it." So this piece is pedal to the metal all the way through. I'm telling you, it's a very angst-filled response on a very passionate poem by Hausman. When am I going to sleep again? 4 and 8 and all this kind of stuff. Veni, Sancte Spiritus is the fast movement number 4 from the otherwise meditative Lux Aeterna. And this is the one where we put aside meditation and we're celebrating the fact on this particular text. If you don't have the recording by Paul Solomonovich of the Lux Aeterna, the Grammy-nominated one, you're depriving yourself of something. It's one of the most gorgeous recordings ever. It's a huge, huge bestseller, and mainly meditative stuff, but the Lux Aeterna, eternal life. And it has the Monument and the Rose songs and Midwinter songs and the Ave Maria and all that. It's been out there for 20 years or so. The Canticle is a very, very interesting thing. One of the guys I studied with at USC was Halsey Stevens. Very, very fine composer and had a special fondness for the clarinet. I owed him a lot because I didn't start writing music at all until I was a junior in college. I had so many other interests, and I took a composition class. I went to Halsey Stevens and said, "Please let me take a beginning composition class." I'm 20 years old. I had transferred down to USC, and he reluctantly let me in for 1 semester to see if I could cut the mustard. And I succeeded in his chair eventually. And I was able to repay this wonderful man in a certain way, a very special way. When he got Parkinson's, a really bad case of it, the last 10 years of his life, he asked me to go into his studio and to find scraps of pieces that he had begun and was unable to finish because of his health. So I did. Whenever you hear his viola concerto and his 7 songs of love and death and his 7th piano sonatina and others, they have his name on it as a composer, and it says edited by Morten Lauridsen, but there's a lot more editing. And he heard them all before he died, and he could never tell where he stopped, and I started, trying to put myself in his moment. So when he died, I wrote a little 2-page, 4-minute abstract clarinet blues. I'll put blues in quotation marks because it's not like any blues you ever heard. But it takes a virtuoso clarinet. And I'm going to take part on it a little bit. And then some years later, a group wanted to do a recording of all of my music, or most of it, and they had a superb clarinetist in there, so we had him do the clarinet part, but I wanted to do something for the choir, so I put an antiphon that takes all of 30 seconds for solo women's voices, chimes, in the center of this thing, and that was a send-off to my younger brother who passed away, and so I wrote it on his birthday in my shack on Aldern Island. So it fits right in the middle of this, and then the clarinetist comes out, just as a 1-page thing, a set of variations on what she had played earlier on. And I'm so fortunate to have these brilliant musicians here that can tackle all these tough things. And then finally we end up with Mysterium. I never knew what would happen on that thing when I wrote it. I remember Solomonovich conducted the LA Master Trial, turned around the audience that night. He says, tonight you're going to hear a 20th century counterpart to Victoria and some of these other things that go on. There are 100 recordings of this thing. And it was the hardest piece I ever wrote, too. It took me 6 months to get it right. Because for those of you who are interested, if you go to my website, there's an article that I was commissioned by the Wall Street Journal to write about the Om Mani Mysterium, the genesis of it, and its connection to a painting by Zubran from the Baroque called Still Life, Lemons, Oranges, and a Rose, which I saw, and it showed me the pathway to my approach on setting a piece celebrating the birth of Christ in the manger amongst the animals in the veneration of the Virgin Mary. So you're going to see 5 or 6 different sides of me today. And this is a very, very rare thing to have all these things performed. So I must say, Seth, to you, thank you for being bold enough to add a whole bunch of really edgy stuff to this concert. And so fasten your seatbelts.